So, Professor, in that example you just gave,
Yes.
would her $100,000 in itself be an opportunity,
No,
or
that's
would an investor be an opportunity? Just the fact that you have some ability to get started, is that an opportunity in itself, or are we only talking about the market and the environment opportunities?
the fact that she had $100,000. It was, I think, a strength, but it's not an opportunity. It's a strength. The fact that I told her that she needed 200, the with 100, if she was going to try to do something for 100, she would not get anything done. It's a little bit like if you go, let me think of examples. If you go fishing and you bring two baits, for example, and you go, "Oh, I only need two baits." It's not going to work, because when you go fishing, there's baits that you throw that you don't even put on your hook. You just throw there. And then there's baits that are going to fall out of the hook. And therefore, you need more than what you think. And so 100,000, if I tell her you can do it with 100,000, I give her false hope. So you have to be very realistic on what it really costs. And there is what you think it's going to cost and what it's really going to cost, and it's always more. So with experience, you sort of find you have like the desk job of making the forecast, and then there's that plus 10-15% more that you really need because of the things that you don't expect are going to happen. And in fact, my experience is like, I call this, I learned it from someone else, but this person was always calling it the fat. Is you need to make a forecast plus some fat. And the fat is kind of used in a way that it's not bribe, it's not use corruption. These are the wrong word for it, obviously. But it's sort of, you need this extra money because there is always money that you have to give to things that you don't think. So for example, when you want to get your new product be distributed, you have to find a distributor to do that. And unfortunately, the distributor the distributor, she or will do it because they have a markup on it and they make money from distributing something that is made by someone else. However, salespeople tend to be more motivated if you create some sales incentives. So you can calculate the sales incentive from the get-go, but it is much better to have some fat to give to the salespeople as extra.
I understand that.
And
okay, but let's say I was very well connected in the business world, and I knew I could get investors and a distribution and a production arm. Like I knew I had that team together, so that whatever idea I had, I would be able to make it happen more quickly and easily. Let's just say
yes,
that
of
would
course,
be a strength,
that's a strength,
not an opportunity. Okay,
not an opportunity. Yes,
gotcha.
you marry the daughter of Walmart, of the owner of Walmart. That's not an opportunity. The opportunity may be that she's not married, but the fact that you're marrying her, that becomes a strength, because suddenly you can almost sell anything when you have this kind of Amazon connection, because they reach so many people that eventually something is going to happen. However, when you're in business, you try to be the most efficient as possible. So selling something that is an ID, and just because you're rich, popular, well connected, and all this, and it's just your ID, yes, you probably will be successful to some extent because you have so much going on. But if you were to say, you know what, it's my ID, let's test it as a candid eye, as an innocent eye, as a objective eye, and really use the system which everyone should be using, which is what is the opportunity, and let's evaluate the opportunity. Then you can even enhance yourself. So if you are a famous celebrity, yeah, if you were to make some shoes, you probably sell them. But if you did some study before and you really studied it even more, you probably be even more successful because you did some study. So it's just a question of magnitude, it becomes, because sometimes you have so much strength that almost anything works. So, but the magnitude of the success gets even better if you do your due diligence at looking at what are the opportunities to support it. So it's the magnitude.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So now, just 1 second, because I want to hear Rebecca, because she asked this question, and it's not like I want you to believe in my religious view of marketing and all to believe in my religion. I want you to be convinced from your own analysis, not just from believing me. Obviously, I started this class discussing epistemology, so that will make sense. That I think you should believe in all of this, not because you believe me, but because you've made your own intellectual analysis of it. So you remember it because you think it makes sense. So I want to hear Rebecca. Can you hear me, Rebecca? Is she still here? Maybe I
being a little wonky, but can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, can you repeat the question?
So the question is now, I want you to tell us what you think about, therefore, the concept of the ideas versus the concept of the opportunities when it comes to business, because I try to make the argument that the opportunity is far more superior because it's not as personal as an idea.
It sounds to me like, with what you described, that it's easier to give people something they already want than convince something they want something that they don't want already. So
Yeah,
that's why
true.
an opportunity is at least
that's true.
More profitable. Like if you
That's
were
right.
to say, does someone have a great idea? Could it benefit certain people? Obviously that could happen, but will that be a profitable thing for a business? Not as much as a good opportunity.
Yes, absolutely true. And that, you see, you went deeper to what I said. So what I said was more on the surface, and what you say is much deeper. So it's like today I was speaking to someone who's a very famous consultant in the business of the wine and spirits, and she was telling me, the problem with I sell some cognac is that most people don't even know what's cognac. So then, before you even sell cognac, you have to explain to people what it is. So therefore, the opportunity is harder to sell cognac because most people don't even know what it is. So it's harder for people to buy something that they don't even know what it is. Versus if I sell vodka or tequila or whiskey, it's a lot easier, even though it's kind of interesting because we were talking about it. I told her, how many people know about whiskey? 2%, really know. How many people know about cognac? 2%. So the fact that people already don't even know, that's the thing. But the fact that they think they know is enough to increase the opportunity. So that is very important, that you have to see that opportunities is giving you some kind of insurance that there is something, that you're going after something, versus with an idea is you may be having just this opportunity may be just in your head and it may be sort of abstract. Looking for opportunity makes things more concrete. So yeah, so now that we've said this, and I don't think I spent enough time, to be honest, but I needed to start with this because that's the hardest thing that you have to work with. And it's essentially what you're going to be working for. And what we will be discussing on this Saturday when we meet is you will be presenting not just that, you can go in the tactics, the strategy and all of this, but they will only make sense if you've done a good job with the opportunities. So sometimes people have all the parts and they're all good. The order is wrong, so we'll be working on the order. We'll work on the logic. Is this logical? The flow is logical. Do you have enough arguments? What are the real star points inside your presentation? What's missing, weaknesses and strengths? So that's what we'll be doing. So the more you do, the better. So to me, the three key concepts of marketing are opportunities, then just noticeable difference. So maybe that doesn't appear to you as, obviously you know what it is because it was in the quiz, you had to study it. But I didn't spend as much time on just noticeable differences as much as I have on opportunities. But the concept of not just noticeable differences is very connected to opportunities and to the other one, STP, in the sense that you need to give people what people want. It's funny, I met someone who's very successful in business today. He's a multi-billionaire, and someone I really enjoy working with. I have a partner project with him, and he started from nothing. He came from Iran with less than $50, and now he has more than $4 billion asset. So from $50 to $4 billion. He lives in Woodland Hills. He's really a very nice person in addition. And so we're working on this project together, and he doesn't realize that that's what I do, is because he doesn't realize that I explain all of this opportunity. But he was telling me, he said, Frank, business is very easy. He says, give the people what the people want. Don't give them what you have in your head, because what you have in your head is for you. You serving them, you satisfying them. So it's like, man, that's exactly what I tell my students. And so I was like, that's you see, that's what these very successful people think. Everybody, it's in the book, it's in the YouTube video from the people that talk about business, it's in my class. But to me, the way I materialize it, because I have, done a lot of different things, and I have this academic background where I can relate it to the concepts. So that way I share this with the students, is opportunities, just noticeable difference. Just noticeable difference, what's behind this, to summarize it again, is the fact that you're not alone to compete in the market. You have other competitors, and they're also offering their J&D. Your competitor's J&D is one J&D, you have another J&D. So everybody's fighting to have their own J&D. What's important with the J&D is that you should have one J&D that the customer sees. If they see it, it's good. If the customer don't see it, it's not good. So it's not just good to have the J&D as perceived by the experts, they should be the J&D seen by the customers. So I remember when my wife, first time we came to the States, we lived in Australia, in France before, and in Australia before that. And I didn't realize that, but she wanted to buy a car, and she was looking at the places where she could put a glass inside the car. And she was like, wow, this car is great. You can put 6 glasses. And it may be difficult because you're American for the most part, but for a European, you never count the places you put glasses. And if you do that, we are like, this person is weird, right? So that's why sometimes you buy a European car and there's no places to put glasses, and you go, what were these people thinking about? You buy, I don't know, a Mercedes or whatever. Well, they're very small, because in Europe we use much smaller glasses. So then we had different perspectives. So for her, the just noticeable difference was the number of places you could put glasses, versus for me, it was something different. And so the J&D, there's therefore no good J&D or no bad J&D. It's the J&D of the people you're trying to satisfy. And that connects. So it's like a circle. It connects to the STP. So what is STP? What does it do? What does it mean? Why do we care of STP? And it's not like I'm going to show you another slide in a week where there's more than this. That's essentially all you need to remember. But what is STP, and why do we care of STP? STP stands for segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So I can teach to you, but I want you to, from the get-go, think about, why do we care? So first, what does it mean? Segmenting means dividing. You divide, you separate. Targeting, it's the opposite, is you group, you assemble, you put together. And then positioning is the meaning, the image of that people want to hear for that brand. So it's called STP. And therefore, why would we care to divide people and then group people and then think about an image for these people?
Because nobody wants the same thing.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely, Jersey. And I'm sorry, I think you had your hand up, and I don't know if I answered your question or if you, I didn't want to.
It's a question that it can be discussed later.
Okay, so nobody is the same. At least nobody is the same for everything. So we are the same for certain things, and some other things we are not. We have a favorite coffee brand, we have a favorite color, we have a favorite song, we have a favorite musician, but we're not all exactly the same. If we were to say, what are your top 10 musicians, we would have a different distribution. However, if you take the whole United States, you may find yourself having a lot of people with the same top 10 favorite musician. And therefore, then you belong to that group for the musician. But then it may be very different for the food, or it may be very different for movies. So therefore, that's what marketing is very good at realizing, is that all of these differences are therefore opportunities. These differences are opportunities because they are opportunity for someone to focus on certain differences and to become the best at satisfying certain differences. What is wrong is when businesses think they are very good at satisfying everybody. Then they fail because they don't realize that if that market exists, it's not going to stay very long because the competitors are going to make sure that they satisfy something. And then you come and you have to find your just noticeable differences. So there's huge overlap and interaction between these three. Is you look for opportunities. Most of the opportunities come from people differences. People differences come out, the outcome is you create just noticeable differences. What is the cement? What is the glue? What is the bridge between all of these? What is the activity that you have to do in order to be able to work on this and understand this? What is it called? It starts with the R. After the R is a E. After the E is a S. After the S is a E. Research. Yes, research. Exactly. So to make this all work, I'm missing one bar, which I will not put horizontal, I would put vertical on the left side or the right side. It's like the connecting bar between all of these three. Is you need to do research in order to understand where are your opportunities, what do people want, and then who are the people and how to make it better for them. So if you can conceptually visualize this, and I know it may sound sort of academic, but the reality is it's also very practical. And it's also for you to see that research is not a bad word. Research is not a boring activity. Research is fun because it allows you to cement and to control and to minimize bad decisions. Okay, so to further keep on going, because I know this is like the biggie for now and for a long time, is where therefore do you find opportunities? So you find opportunity in your pest, in your environment. So all of these are factors of opportunities. So on Saturday, there's going to be half of the people that are going to say, okay, so based on your review of our presentation, we don't have enough opportunities. Where do we look for opportunities? You look for opportunities in your environment. In your environment, you have the micro and the macro factors. So all of these are sources of opportunities, okay? Because you're trying to do your SWOT. So the SWOT, I won't go into it, but let's do a quick little exercise. Which one of the following statement looks like a business opportunity? Since the air is polluted, we should be making pollution masks. A, our pollution masks are rated the best protection against air pollution by the American Health Society. C, the air is increasingly getting polluted according to the American Health Society. We could partner with a popular brand of filter to improve the quality of our pollution masks. Or E, diversification could be implemented overseas where nature is clean of phosphate. So first, what an opportunity is not what you are going to do. That's maybe my 12th or 13th time saying that today. So therefore, you can already cancel out the one that tells you what they're going to do. Since the air is polluted, we should be making masks. No, don't do that on Saturday. Do not tell me what you're going to do inside the opportunities. I've done this a long time, and the more I do this, the more people get it. But still, there's a natural thing where people want to tell you what they want to do in the opportunity. Do not. Our pollution masks are rated the best protection against air pollution by so and so and so. What is that? What is B?
Strength.
It's a strength. Yes, exactly, Michael. It's a simple strength, and you have a source. What's missing there to make it perfect is you put a date in 2021, in 2022, and then we know, because what if, when was this 20 years ago? It's not a strength anymore. We need something fresh. So that's what would be missing. And where is the opportunity? Anyone see? Let me see. People are saying in the chat, I think.
To me, C is the opportunity because it's just there. We just discovered it.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so that's what people are saying. Oh, they have some B's. No, it's not B. B.
Would it
B.
be A?
B is what we just said. It's a strength. B is a strength. Our pollution masks are the best according to someone else in 2022. D is what we're going to do. So opportunities are not telling someone what they're going to do. The A is what you're going to do. D is what you're going to do. E is what you're going to do. C is the only one that is just a fact. Obviously, it's incomplete too, because you would say the air is increasingly getting polluted, and then you'd say 20% more pollution in the past 2 years, according to the American Health Society. So then it's complete. You have a statement, you have an increase or decrease, you have a timeline in the past year, since 2022 or whatever, and you have a source. So that's the best. So the source could be published work, so it's secondary data, quantitative or whatever, or it could be according to our interview with customers, with potential customers. So could you say, according to our interview to potential customers, that's a source? Yes. Therefore, you have to create an appendix that would say, we did an interview with X number of people within this period in order to assess people's evaluation of a genre of music, or maybe you show them the video. I sent you a video of Nishwa he sent me this afternoon. And obviously it's a draft, but it's trying to show us what he's working on. And he probably wants to see if we think it's good, if it works with us, or maybe he's want to give us some pointers of things he's working on and all that. So that's essentially what this is about. So Rebecca, yes, you have a question?
I do. I'm so sorry.
No problem. No, don't be sorry. That's great.
I just was wondering, so if C is not considered an opportunity?
No, C is.
It is.
Yeah, C
Did the
is.
answer is C?
So no, look, C is the air is. That's the one.
Oh, I thought you said it wasn't, but you said it was.
Yes, I say it is. It's correct, but you can make it better. Because what's missing here is we don't see how much more polluted.
I see.
So
Okay.
you would say, so you say the air is getting polluted. According to the American Health Society, it has increased by 20% between 2019 and 2021. So then it's complete, because then you see a good opportunity is one, a sentence with some information. Two, there is a source. It's not pulled out of a hat or like thought through when someone took a shower. It's substantiated by a source. That's two. And then three, there is a timeline. Was this from the 1800 or was this from last year? There's a timeline. And then fourth, there's a magnitude. It's increasing or decreasing by how much percentage. So that way we can evaluate the value of that opportunity. But it doesn't have to have a percentage, because sometimes this opportunity was discovered during an interview. So it's one person telling you. You know what I'm saying? So if you spoke through an interview with the CEO of Universal Music, this person's perception of the market has more weight because it's someone that is very highly involved, one of the most powerful person in the industry. So therefore that carries a lot of weight, like almost like 100 people speaking. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I think I misinterpreted. I thought you said that C was not considered an opportunity, but I see you're saying it's not the best example of a complete state
Yes, exactly.
of an opportunity. Okay,
So,
great.
so it's correct here, because what happens, here's what I usually see. I usually see people writing opportunities as of, here's what we're going to do, like D, for example. We could partner with a popular other singer and do some feature, you know, niche, wacky X, some other artist. And so they put that in the opportunity. That's what we could do. That's not an opportunity. This is a what you could do. So therefore, that goes into the strategy or the tactics. Ah, okay. So the next stage, they come back. So an opportunity is just a fact, yes. So then they put, the air is increasingly getting polluted. I say, yes, that's an opportunity, but it's missing the source. Who said that? When did they say that? And how much more polluted is it getting? Is it 1% or is it 50%? It makes a difference. Because when you're an investor, you want to invest in something that looks like it's big, not something that is really small. So they need to see the percentage of increase, and they need to see the source, you know, because it's different if it's according to Nielsen versus Wikipedia. Investor wants to invest on data from Nielsen, but not from what Wikipedia says. Okay. Yes, Jersey.
So the question that I wanted to ask, let's say that you find an investor and they help you out with $1 million. What happens if the product doesn't sell well? Do you own the investor the $1 million?
Well, you would not want to be in that position. So that kind of investor, usually it's called a bank, the one that you still own money. So there's different kind of investors. If this investor is a family member, it depends, you know. If this investor is just a angel investor, you own nothing, because that's part of the relationship with the angel. An angel takes a big percentage for a short period of time. A bank takes a smaller percentage for a longer period of time. But the problem with the bank is they may be asking for collaterals. So who is more likely to give you money? Family and friends. Yes, but my family and friends are not rich. Okay, not family and friends. Rich family and friends? Family and friends? Poor family and friends? No, no family and friends. So the next thing, angel, great, because they will give you much faster the money, but it won't be large amounts, and it will be a big percentage, and for a short time. So because it's such a short time, they're going to really not think about the idea. They're going to look at the opportunity, because they want their money back next year. So the only likelihood, like a statistics, chances, luck that they get their money next year is because you have an opportunity that is rock solid, and everybody can see it and say, for sure, this is very unlikely not to work. But you can measure opportunity. That's what I'm training you this semester. That's why, why James came last week. That's what he learned, is how to speak to investor, how to speak the language of business by believing in opportunity and making the opportunities become rock solid. But if you don't speak about opportunity, if you speak about ideas, you're diluting the professional look that you're going to get from an investor. And if you speak about opportunity and in your opportunity section, you don't give any facts, but you say what you're going to do, it is correct if the investor look at you and say, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Because in the opportunity, they don't tell me what are the opportunities, they tell me what they're going to do. Therefore, they're so confused. I want to hear about the opportunity. And then you tell me what you're going to do. Right? So that's extremely important, because the more money you need, the more you need to speak the right term. And I know that Professor Mackenzie went to that's, you know, he took this class. After that, he became a marketing director of a big company, and he didn't experience too much this. And after this, he went to work for a startup, which 50% of his job was to be able to collect money from people in order to invest in the startup. That was 50% of his marketing job. So he was like, okay, I need to go back to my slides from this class, because that was really what we're talking about. Building your report, building your presentation in order to get people to see that you speak the language, and you giving reassurance. They feel that they can trust you because you've given them enough opportunity that it's hard to believe it's not going to work. And so that's the position you are in right now. It's almost like a position of a lawyer, and you are defending someone that has been accused, and you need to find enough evidence that at the end, the weight of your evidence, the jury is going to say this person is not guilty. It's the weight of the evidence. So here's the same thing: is you need to bring enough opportunity, evidence, that when we look at it, we go, that's it. Yeah, you found it. Nishwaki is in good hands. So now tell me what you're going to do with these opportunities. But we can smell that it's good already inside the opportunity, because you're essentially going after the right direction. Does that answer your question, Jersey?
Yep, perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, then again, going back, it's research, looking for those customers. And that's why today the class is very important, because it's about, therefore, if I had 5 minutes looking for opportunity, you know, this class is very short, but let's say you have 5 minutes. Where should I go? I'm in a hurry. I'm catching a plane. Where do I get opportunities? From the customers. If you have only 5 minutes, look for the customers. See what is the pain the customer have. What is it that they don't like in what's going on in the market? What are the changes that they're not too happy about? What is it that they getting more excited about, that they hope more people were doing? Look for this wow moment. What excites them? So if you look into a next, actually that was with you, Jersey, we had this conversation where I was telling you, if you think you will find the best opportunities from the most expensive database, you're wrong. And I was saying, it's funny, that's what people most of the time think. The more the database is expensive, the better the opportunity I'm going to find. So they spend money. When in fact, most of the good opportunities, they come from observing people, talking to people directly, just seeing what they do. So, you know, there's some research company, what they do is they put cameras in people's home to observe them. And those cameras are 24/7, and they just, obviously they don't put them in places like the bathroom and all that, you know, unless it has to do with toothbrushing or whatever, and it's part of and they get paid. It's not like, I'm not saying hidden cameras, is people get paid to have those cameras, and then those cameras are filming, and then there's people that actually review all of these videos, and they're trying to make some inferences, make some guesses, if you want, based on observing people's behavior and rituals. And from this, they try to find some gaps. So you could say, oh, could you do this going to a concert? Could you do this going to a music festival? By looking at people, observing people, by going through some blogs, by reading people comments. Does that help? That's fantastic. That's what I'm talking about. Looking at people's behavior live, directly, or just based on spontaneous information that they are giving you. And you find a gap. So the process here is called STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. It comes after we talk about consumer behavior, because how do you explain consumer behavior? Is you explain people different behavior depending on where do they live, how old they are, how do they think, and why do they buy, and all these different things. So I'm not going to do this class again. We've already done it. But all of these components are ways to divide people. Segmentation is about dividing people. How do you divide them? So I take one, let's see, this one, social class. Can you divide people by their social class? Yes. Good. Can you divide people by income? Yes. Can you divide people by states? Yes. So the problem with segmentation is it's not that difficult. Anyone that takes this class can become a professional segmenter. Once you know that segmentation is about dividing people, you just need to pick a bunch of these and you divide people. The problem with dividing people is what are the characteristics you use to divide people? So I'll give you an example. If I have another class which is almost 200 students. When I teach this class, and they are undergraduate students, so they are like 22 years old, 23 years old. Those people don't all understand what I'm talking about because I don't read the book. From what I understand, a lot of professors, they just read the textbook or they ask them to, so instead I give them practical information and all this. So what I've noticed is the older students, they love it. The younger students, they don't like it so much because they can't relate. I mean, they've not worked ever, or if they work in a job where, they're doing photocopies and all of this. So they don't have any executive higher level understanding of business. So they're very much like a white page. But in some way, it's good because they believe everything I tell them. But in some other way, it's not so good because they try to memorize it. They can't use their own personal experience to make sense too much of this. So they try to, but they have a hard time. So then you'd say, you know what? So why don't you, instead of teaching 200 students where you have a variation of understanding, because the variation is a little bit of a problem because sometimes I have to explain myself several times. So I'm too slow for some people and I'm too quick for some others. So when you have 200, you could say, you know what, maybe you could have 3 groups of 65, 70 students. It would be much better. It's true. So to improve the satisfaction, I could have 3 groups, but how could I divide them? So if I say, you know what, why don't you do age, gender, and I don't know, and social class? Then you'll find that gender, why gender? Gender doesn't make any sense because people don't understand what I say in a different way. If they are men and women, has no difference. However, age has a difference. So when you do segmentation, to summarize and not lose you, is everyone is capable of picking one of these characteristics and using it to divide people. The problem is how important are the characteristics that you used in order to divide. Dividing for the sake of dividing is not useful. It's identifying the which characteristic you're using to divide that is important, the one that is meaningful. So then you say, okay, so now I get it. So you don't do age, gender, and height. No, height makes no difference. So I suppose, what about GPA? GPA is a good idea. Then interest in the subject. It's like marketing is the last thing I want to do versus marketing is something I really need to learn. That would make a difference as well. Teaching classes based on their personal behavioral interest, the benefits, on this kind of things. So in your situation, that's what you're going to be facing is what is one of the big problem of Nishwaki? He has no clear understanding of who are his customers, who are his fan base, and who should they be. So if you look at the slide I gave you last Saturday, I emailed you, there's a section that says, what are the problems? I think one of the problems is defining Nishwaki's customers. So it's doing a S and T. Or what we've been calling since the beginning of the class, also as persona. Persona and S, segmentation and targeting, are the same thing. The only thing is segmentation and targeting is the old way of calling it, and it's the more academic, what can I say, formal way, versus persona is the more 2020 modern, simplified way of talking about it. My recommendation is you need to understand what is segmentation and targeting, but 2, is to use the persona because it's the most practical, and you probably will use that very often. I don't know what to tell you. It's like when I was in Australia, they use the word "I reckon" all the time. I reckon. What do you reckon? So you speak with an Australian, and in America they say, "You know what I mean? You 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 know what I mean? What do you mean? You know what I mean? I mean." So they say this all the time. If you go in Australia, they don't say, "You know what I mean?" It's, "I reckon." What do you reckon? I reckon. You reckon. So that's what I'm trying to say. Is there's like slight difference. So if you say "es persona" to a professor, is going to go, "What is that?" They understand segmentation and targeting. If you go and work for a social media company, which everybody is less than 25 or whatever, and you talk about segmentation and targeting, they're going to go, "I think that's persona, right? Yeah, we use persona." So it's the same thing, but it's in different environment. So the next, Jersey, do you still have a question?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay. So the next slide is again a slide that we saw before, which is explaining that you can divide people again by their culture, subculture, reference group, family, and motivation, perception. All of what you learn in consumer behavior was not for the sake of making you become a psychologist or whatever. It was for you to use your understanding of the component of consumer behavior for the sake of dividing people. How do I divide people? By looking at the differences between people. So a company has a mission. The mission is the big picture, is where do they see themselves in 20 years, and what is the image, the corporate image of the company for the next 20 years. So you develop a business plan. Inside this business plan, you have the marketing plan. We talked about this and all that. So segmentation is dividing. The division is inside the marketing plan is right here. It's one full section of the marketing plan: segmenting, targeting, and positioning. So what's a good segment? I was saying it's a segment that is important. It's the word in business for this, it's called a salient segment. So salient is an English word that is not used all the time, but salient means it's meaningful, important, critical. So what makes a segment salient? First is that you can define the target, the segment characteristics. So it's if you say men and women, that's accessible. There's differences between men and women. Substantiable means there's enough of them, because you have to be careful. The more you use characteristic to segments, the smaller the group of people become. So if you say, I'm going to focus on men versus women, just men, so that's big, that's 50%. If you say, I'm going to focus on men that are 6, 7, 8, that are missing one finger in the left hand and have one brown eyes and one blue eye. If you keep adding characteristics to divide people, then you end up with what's called a micro segment. And if you have a micro segment, your market becomes so small that it's not substantiable, and therefore it's not that attractive. Actionable, which means that if you divide them and you offer your product specifically, they will recognize this product and go, oh yeah, this is great. That's exactly what I wanted. I was looking for this. You must have had a situation where you saw a new product and you looked at it and you went, wow, that's exactly what I wanted. How did they know that that's what I wanted versus what I had before? They perfectly made this product for me. It fits to what I wanted. So that's what you want, is you want to create this product to be for people to recognize it. You want it to be measurable, which means it's well describe these targets, the segments that you can eventually target it by saying there is 2% of this group in this area. So, how many people speak Spanish in Los Angeles? It's measurable. They know the numbers. So it's not vague. Okay, so then the next one is targeting. So the first step is to divide the people. And then the second step is to define who are the targets. So targeting is grouping. So and I'm going to show you another table in a minute, that way you can see the process. But what happens is you start grouping them. Segmenting is dividing them, is looking at them with equity, but then finding what are the characteristics of who you want. So I know, because I've seen, and I don't think it's too much disclosure, but a lot of the project that I've seen, the draft I've seen, students are trying to focus on African American for some reason. Oh, the target's going to be African American, African American, African American. Then I ask why. And then the students say, well, why not? I mean, it seems to be liking this kind of music and all that. It could be for African American. We don't, that's not convincing. Who is his target? It's not because he said that he wants to help the people in Santa Lucia that his targets are African Americans or African people. So you have to define really what is it. Does it have to do with a lifestyle? Does it have to do with some interests? Does it have to do with a age group? So what are the characteristics that are going to be salient? So finding the salient characteristics is sort of not as difficult as opportunities, but it's in this kind of realm of difficulty. But once you find the opportunities, and then you find the segment characteristics, and you play with the segment characteristics and the opportunities, this is when suddenly everything starts to become more clear. But you cannot have things clear until you start playing with this. Modeling, it's like a Lego. Is you take the pieces, you look for the pieces, you choose the pieces, and you say, you know what, I just want square. And then you start building just with square. And then you go, no, I need some rectangle. And I want rectangle with 4 little dots. I don't want the 3 dots, I want the 4 dots. And then you take the 4 dots. That's segmenting, and at the same time, it's trying to build the target that you're trying to create. So to build the target, there's 3 methods. So there are 3 methods, but the literature and the industry calls it 3 strategies. And unfortunately, it's an overuse of the term strategy there, because they are really methods. But I want to tell you, they call them strategies, but I think it's overuse of the term. So it's 3 methods, where the first method is you say it's going to be undifferentiated targeting method. Undifferentiated targeting method means that you're making a product or a service that does not have a specific target. It's good to know that it exists, but it's also important to know that it's almost disappeared. There's no industry where there's undifferentiated, almost no more industry where there's not some level of differentiation between the people. So maybe selling electricity, I suppose. I don't think, there's much differences between the electricity that you're getting, that I'm getting, that everybody's getting. There's not like a high quality of electricity and a low quality of electricity. You go to the gas station and you have different quality of gas. And the reason they have different quality of gas is because they know there's people that have new cars and powerful and expensive cars. So they rather make more money from these people. So they sort of falsely created a different gas, because that way it sounds good and people spend more money. Oh, I just got a new car, I may as well put the most expensive gas. They do some research, and that's what they found. Once the car is 2 or 3 years old, people start putting lower quality gas inside. It's just a matter of time. But there's some people that are very wealthy, and they just feel that they're getting something bad if they don't spend more money. So that's just a result of smart companies trying to make more money by doing targeting and dividing. Is there a difference between the gas? There's a small difference, but the difference is not significant. The difference is mostly in people's mind. What I'm trying to say is that how much difference there is in people's mind? A huge difference. How much difference there is in the gas? A minor, tiny difference. So there's a bigger difference in people's head than there is with the gas in itself. And so, is this fair? Well, it's fair, because if people were to study it, they could find, I don't know, there's hundreds of videos probably just on YouTube that tell you that it makes no sense to spend more money for gas, and they explain you why, and then you have to go through the video for 30 minutes, and at the end you go, gee, why is everybody doing the opposite of what makes sense? Because people don't know. People are not epistemologists. They use beliefs in order to make decisions, and they don't use their brain. There was a video that I posted. I recommend you to go back to the syllabus, and I think it was last Wednesday. There's 2 videos. Why is the majority always wrong? And so they explained that there's a group sort of pressure where people think that if everybody does something, therefore it's better. And then there's another video which is called, why do we believe things that aren't true? They're sort of connected, these two. And it's because essentially so that's an interesting, these 2 videos, they both say, and they are like different year, different country, everything's different. One is in Netherlands, the other one I think is in America. And they say that we use only 5% of our brain. 95% is not used. And so because we make decisions just simply on beliefs. So concentrated is when you decide to sell a service or a product to 3 targets combined. So you don't always make a product for everybody, and you don't always make a product for a specific group. You can decide to make a product for a combination of targets. So concentrated, what's good about this is it's much better for big businesses. Big businesses try to cover many people. Small businesses should do the last one, which is differentiated, trying to make one specific product for one specific group of people. It is harder to cover more people because you have to have more distribution, more communication. The product is gonna have to be very competitive, because if you cover more people, you usually compete more against the big company. If you cover more specific people, you tend to be more expensive, more special, and therefore people look for smaller companies for when they look for things that are more special. In general, that's the rule of thumb 90% of the time. So concentrated is targeting methods that consist in targeting several targets at the same time, versus differentiated is to target one specific group of people per product. So there's going to be a question in quiz 2 on this. It's like, if you decided to create one product for a combination of targets, what would be the name of the targeting method strategy? It would be concentrated, because you are trying to make a product for a combination of potential targets. Now, how many targets should you combine? The problem is you can't combine too many, because if you combine too many, then you start off looking like undifferentiated. So what's the rule? There's no rule. There's no magic formula to tell you what's too many and too few. It's sort of a trial and error. If you have like only 2 or 3, when you could have 5, maybe that's a problem. So you want to have the most as possible, but not too many. Otherwise, you become looking like you're undifferentiated. Differentiated, the problem with that is it costs more money to have many products for many different targets. You become more specialized, and it becomes much more expensive. So are there such a thing as different lawyers? Yes, you have business lawyers. But within business lawyers, you have lawyers that are specialized in contracts, business contracts. But then you could have also business lawyers that are specialized in setting up your business, creating your business, launching your business. But you also have tax lawyers, intellectual property, employment. All of these are specialty of a business lawyer. If you could see someone who does trial, or if someone that does family law, and you ask them about a business contract, they're going to tell you, oh, I studied this when I got my business law degree, but that's not my specialty. So businesses are organized in terms of specialty. Why? Because they're focusing on a specific need. Why? Because they're focusing on a specific group of people. And that's what I was trying to say. So when you have a business, you want to force yourself to understand that there are many needs, many customers, and you want to focus on them very specifically. This lawyer, maybe you've seen ads on TV, I've seen a lot of his ads. He specializes in church situation, clergy settlements. So not only is a lawyer who works on litigation and trial and personal type of things, but it's personal things that have to do with the clergy. If you have the priest that molested you or something like that. Why did he pick that? Because he saw an opportunity. What do you mean? Well, if you ask him, my idea is to defend people who had problems with the church. But if you ask him what are the opportunity is there's a lot of church, there's a lot of priests, and there's a lot of people getting some incidents. And because these numbers are big, because these numbers are going up, therefore I have a work and I have people waiting for me to come and say, I'm the expert in that very, very, very specific type of litigation that you're looking for my help. So businesses are like this. Is if you're a lawyer and you're a starving lawyer, that makes no sense. There should be no starving lawyers because they should all figure out that there's opportunity out there and specialize themselves in a one differentiated target that they focus on and they become very, very specific. So here's a car that was made by Steyr Daimler Puch. It's a car that was made actually for the military in Iran. The military in Iran said, oh, we want a very rugged vehicle like a Jeep, and we want it like this, like this, like this. So Steyr made that car, but eventually Iran decided that they couldn't buy the car because they had too many financial problems. So Steyr got stuck with all these frames and all these parts and all this. And so because they are a family, it's made in Austria, a family company to Mercedes-Benz, they said to Mercedes-Benz, help us. Who can we sell this ugly car? Mercedes-Benz said, don't worry about it. We make it a luxury car and we make it bling bling and we get all the celebrity from Hollywood to drive one. And then people are going to buy them like hotcakes. Yes, but you can't do that. It was made for military. No, you put a Mercedes-Benz logo on it because nobody wants to buy a Puch, but a Mercedes-Benz, yes. And therefore, they made the Puch turn into AMG, and now it's one of the most successful Mercedes-Benz. What method did they use? It's called targeting. It's essentially saying, who wants that? If you give a fantastic product to the wrong person, they're going to think it's trash. If you give a trash product, as far as you can tell, to the right person, they're going to think it's wonderful. So it's matching is very, very important. That's why it's so important to understand the concept of segmentation and targeting. So now I'm going to go very quick because these are the essential things that you may not remember. But the VALS segmentation is it's a typology. It's called. It's a typology that was created for people to quickly get segmentation and targeting. So it's, for example, if you Google it, you'll find it's a website. You can even do it for yourself. You fill in a questionnaire and it takes maybe 10 minutes. And at the end, it tells you which group of customers target you belong to. Are you an innovator? Are you an experiencer? Are you a maker? Are you survivors? So it all depends on how much resources you have and how much interest you have in new things versus old things. It's more complicated than this, but this was created by a professor in the early 80s. And eventually he quit the university, he created this consulting company that became a huge multi-million-dollar consulting company. Because back then, in the 80s, there was an opportunity for a consulting company to just do segmentation and targeting because the consulting company was trying to do everything. He said, I'm not going to do everything. I'm only going to do that. And I'm going to be the best. So the VALS is very famous. This one that was done by a company called Constellation Wines. People don't realize who is Constellation Wines because they are not known by the consumer, but it's probably the third largest wine company in America. It's in the top 5. And they employ tens of thousands of people. And they did a research looking at exactly what I'm talking about. Can you find the segmentation and target within the wine industry? So they found a certain percentage. They gave it a name. So that should remind you of the persona. It's the mixture. So they give the name of price-driven, everyday loyals, overwhelmed, image seekers, and so forth. And then they explain. To make this even better, And essentially, we've already seen people doing this. I've seen, because not you haven't seen all the presentation, they were so good. But some people, they had a table like that, and then on the left side, they put a picture. You put a picture for each one of these, and you're doing, voila, this is the persona, this is the ST of our market. So I strongly encourage you to do that. I don't know, if you wanted, you could take your phone and take a picture of this. That way you have an example. But if you look at the samples that the students did in the past, they used it. And in fact, like I said, there's already groups that presented that last Saturday. So people have seen it before. Now is a little question for you. Could STP be also TPS or PTS or PST? What could it be any of these? What could it be? And or maybe what it could not be? Could it be TPS? Or could it be PTS? Or could it be PST?
Seems like these steps need to happen in a specific sequence.
So that's very true. There is a sequence. So that's the little trick. Well, I think I saw Natalie coming as well.
I was wondering if it could be STP or TPS, but not starting with P. So basically you have to start with either segmentation or targeting.
Okay, so Natalie, thank you for coming forward, because that's the problem. Is it always has to be S and T.
Gotcha.
You can, because what happens is you divide the people before you can group them. So you have to say, so let's say Nishwaki, I do it live for you. Nishwaki, who's the customers? I couldn't give you the persona and then tell you what goes in there. I have to think about what goes in there. So then I'm going to think very basic, men or women. I think gender has nothing to do with it. So get rid of gender. Age. I think age probably has an importance. I don't know what age, but I think age would be good. So you see, you have to start with S, segmenting, dividing. So you have to first identify the characteristics you're going to use in order to divide the market. I think it would be, I would start with Americans. And maybe in America, to keep it simple, I would start with California. So I would do, for the first year, like Californians, men and women, so gender, forget about it, maybe a certain age. So I'm not saying this is true. I don't want you to think this is true, but I'm going to say less than 30. And then I'm going to say people are like sort of things that are music sort of relaxed, where there's a little bit of a lifestyle behind it, where it's like sort of, it's funny, his music reminds me of, I don't know, like George Benson and Al Jarreau or something, these are oldies, but it's kind of sort of this very calming, there's something really cool about it. And very, it's not to say that this music is from 2022. It's not marked on a certain period. Anyway, so you get the picture. You have to do this before you say who it is. So S is always before T. So if you look here, therefore it's STP or PST, maybe as an option. But what is PST? PST is you think about the image and then you fish for who is going to like your image. Is that done? Do business do that?
I would say sometimes. I feel like certain brands.
And brands, to be honest, business do that almost all the time. Mm-hmm. Even though that's wrong. Most of the time, people think of ideas and then create the product and then try to sell it and then realize it didn't work. And then they wonder why it didn't work. Customers are stupid. They didn't buy my product. or they didn't buy your product because you want that, but nobody wants that beside you. Oh, are you sure? Did you do any research? No, maybe that's the problem. So they do ID and then market instead of researching the market and creating what people want. They don't look at opportunities. So a lot of businesses, what they say is, my business is going to have this reputation and it's going to mean this. And this meaning, I'm going to find out who is going to want it. So it becomes a sales, like a selling expedition versus a marketing expedition. Marketing expedition is, what do people want? Who are the people? Can we supply to them? Let's make it and let's satisfy them and let's make it better and better and better and better and keep on going from generation to generation, not giving them more than what they need because we need to work on the next generation. And then you create a sustainable business that is profitable and everybody is happy, your business is happy, employee happy, customers are happy. PST, however, even though it's wrong, so I don't want to confuse you, PST is wrong. It's what most business do, is they say, and why do most business do that? Because most businesses in America are small businesses. I think it's like 96% of the businesses are small businesses. Small business owner, it takes a lot of drive to be a small business owner. And oftentimes they do it by sheer passion, motivation. And they say, you know what, I love my idea, I'm motivated, and they do it. And they work and work and work and work. I have a video that I showed to the students. I'll show it to you next class. After the students see this video, you'll forget I tell you about this today when we do it. It's in over a month. But after I show this video, the students go, you know what? I totally get it. That's so sad. This guy is ruined his life. And it was so obvious the things he needed to do, but he kept doing the wrong things because he was doing PST. He was pushing a rock uphill by trying to force an image that he had in his head on a group of people that didn't want it. And so to succeed, you have to do STP. Big businesses do STP. You look at all the big businesses, you look at what's the secret code, is the totally STP. However, not every industry. So the industry that I do the most research, that I'm the most known for, is the luxury industry. And the luxury industry, and I've wrote about this, I won international prizes for best author and researcher. So I can tell you about that. I don't think it's that amazing what I'm going to tell you, but people think I'm amazing every time within that industry. Is what I say is, when you're in the luxury industry, the essence is PST. Because in the luxury industry, and that's probably very true in the music, but there's a huge part of creativity, and it's called creative leadership. Creative leadership is someone comes and has a talent. So in music is the same. And then they express the talent, and people like it or not like it, but it's their talent that eventually drives the business. True. So if you look at the luxury industry, in the essence, I mean, in the minority, in the very, very high artisanal, super high luxury brand, there is PST. I mean, you want, the other day I met someone that bought himself a boat, and the boat was over $50 million. And so it's taking 5 years to make his boat. The company that makes the boat, they're doing PST. They make your boat. You come, you give them a check of $50 million, they make your boat. So it's PS, they're totally in this thing about PST, which is their image is the highest luxury, the highest custom, all of this, and they only serve this type of people. And it's like a designer dress. It's the designer that made the dress. Everybody looks at the dress and go, bah. But there's 400 people in the world that can spend over $200,000 to buy that dress. And that dress, in fact, will be bought for $200,000 or $600,000 by those 400 people. But the rest of the world look at that dress and go, I will never wear that dress. I don't know anyone that would ever wear that dress. Right, because that dress is closer to art or to a sculpture or to whatever you want, to a museum piece, than it is to be made, to be used. There's no practicality. So it's almost art. So it's PST. It's the positioning, the image, the creativity, the creative leadership of the brand and then what the customer wants. But because you're in the music industry, and that's why I said to musician, and that's why some students really like me and some don't like me, and they will never like me for what I'm just going to say right now, is if you're in the music industry, you have to pick. You want to be PST and very likely you will be starving, or do you want to be STP and you will increase your chance of being successful? And if you see, there are some, I mean, I think Elton John probably was PST when he started. You know, the Beatles were, and so many good people were PST when they started. But eventually they had a label, a distribution, they had the whole thing that says, hey, we can make you guys rock and roll, you know, the rock and roll, the Rolling Stones, but you're gonna have to do STP too, which means that that's what your fan wants, and you're gonna have to please them. So this is, some students love this discussion I'm having right now, and some don't understand it because it's the center of the music industry and it's the center of business, and I can get it also because of the luxury. There's a lot of overlaps there with the music, I think, is you have to decide. And so my recommendation that I've never read anywhere is to be PSTP. So that's a Professor Vigneron invention. But if you don't understand it today, by May, you will understand it and you'll go, wow, PSTP, that's right. And it's at the end of the semester, there's always a student that come and say, hey, you PSTP me, or whatever, some terms that I've used, you oisted me or whatever. And so PSTP, I think in music is very good. There needs to be a true authenticity in the artist, because otherwise there's nothing. Otherwise it's pure STP, pure marketing. Even though you can make a lot of money and you can do it for a while, it's not going to last. There needs to be the artist that there's a bone in this person. But you don't want to overemphasize it. You don't want to think that this is more than 50%. Unfortunately, the bad news is that's going to be less than 50%. So it's less than 50% PST, and you can work with the cursor. Maybe it's different with different artists, but it's 49% and less. And then you just play with it, and it's kind of fun. But you need to understand this concept, which is STP is the rule, STP is the religion, and then PST, they are just spices, where suddenly there's some creative leadership that can be expressed.
Just really quick.
Yeah.
So let's say that an artist is starting their entire career or whatever.
Yes.
Or let's say that we see an opportunity. While we see the opportunity, we think on this, like the segmentation,
Exactly.
or the segmentations come after the opportunity comes to us. Not to us, but we discovered it.
Okay, so it's the opportunity first.
Uh-huh.
It's the opportunity first, and like I said, the most common opportunity is to identify a segment, and therefore turn that segment into a target. Identify a new group of people that are there. They're looking for a new style of music. They're looking for a new musician. They're looking for a new vibe. They're looking for a new dress code. They're looking for some, you know, the first reggaeton.
I think everything already made sense to me. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if this makes sense, then you go, oh man, I love this.
No, yeah.
Because suddenly that's you're in that boat. Now you're in this shoe. So on Saturday, that's what I want to see. Is I want you to come and say, okay, here's the PSTP. Here are the opportunities. I'll tell you the ID, but I know that you don't want to hear about the ID, but this is just so simple. In simple person, this is what we're going to do. But there is the opportunity. There is the persona. This is the segment characteristics and all this, and you do all that. And then I will tell you, you kill me. This is super good. This is what I wanted to hear. I'm blown away, and that's fantastic. But it's not that easy, right? It's so difficult. Yes, Michael, I think you had your hand up as well.
I'm still thinking about the anecdote about the girl with the hair combing device.
Yes.
From the beginning. It seems like it seems like her plan was to put the P before the ST.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But it also seems like there was an opportunity and there was a segment, because there was a whole group women who are frustrated about how long it takes.
Exactly.
To get there.
So it's PSTP. So that's what I told her. And when I explained her the PSTP, I mean, she jumped on my neck because she was like, "That's it, I got it." So I remember she essentially did it. Don't tell my wife, but she jumped on my neck, and we were in the classroom. Everybody left, and she went, "Oh, I get it, I get it." And this was in the time where I was in a large lecture hall, and she would sit right in the front. I mean, I would she would be right like this, taking notes, and then saying, "Yeah, I get it." She's like, now I take this class not just for the units, but because I get it. I need it for my business, and I needed to make my $100,000 worse than $100,000. She could see, because she could see she was going to waste our money, and therefore she needed to write first a presentation to get more money. So she was working on a presentation. I had a student like this that came at the end of the class. He came to see me, and he said, "Hey, professor, I've come from Iran, and my English is not good and all this. I took your class, but I'm very interested in engineering. And I thought of this thing where you could go on a website and people could buy solar power system on website." And I said, "So what's the idea?" "Well, the idea is like an eBay for solar panel." And I say, "Wow, why would you do that?" He says, "Well, the opportunity is more people buying solar panel. The opportunity is that people are confused when they buy solar panel. The opportunity is they buy only one or two in their life. The opportunity is a lot of competitors, and they all want to get leads and all of this." And so he kept on going, opportunity. I say, "Perfect, you got it. You got the opportunity. You got the idea. Now, can you tell me about the persona?" "Yes, so there's this type of houses in those neighborhoods, this type of orientation to the sun. There's Arizona versus California, blah, blah, blah." And he says, "That's it. Write the report." He wrote the report. He came back to see me. He said, "Here's the report. I moved the pages around and all this. This is a true story. Move the pages around and all this." I said, "Okay, now you can go." Then he took this report. He brought it to the Los Angeles City district. They had a competition for something to do with the environment. My student, got a check of $250,000. I mean, he jumped on my neck too, I can tell you that. It's called Pick My Solar. It probably still exists. If you put pickmysolar.com. Look, I'm like you, I'm curious to see if it still exists. Pickmysolar.com.
It's here.
And so I told the students that. He came back, he said, "Professor, I have no idea." He says, "But now that I need to spend it, that's a lot of money." And then I said, "No, $250,000 is not a lot of money." I said, "All the things that you want to do is you need more money than this." He says, "How much more money?" I said, "You need probably $300,000 or $400,000. Ah, so I said, "No, you need to look for more investors." And then he created this thing. You see, that still exists. This was 2012. He came back to see me in 2017 or 2018 because he told me that he says, "I can't believe it, professor, but Google wants to invest in my company." So I don't know if it happened. And he said, "Can you take this in a project for your class to take it to the next level? Because I want Google to become an investor in my company." And so then we took it in the class. We wrote more opportunities, more of this. And then he won another big prize. And I saw him with Obama and all that. He sent me pictures with him and Obama. That was my student. At the end of the class, he came to see me. That's why I'm telling you, I have so many stories like this because it works. This is the way you do it. It's that simple. Understand, it's PSTP, it's OIST, it's understanding the opportunity, it's creating your persona. And I mean, you get checks, $250,000 checks from the government if you write those reports and all this. I mean, today I work with this I have 4 businesses, and these 4 businesses have 3 billionaires in different businesses. I convince them because I use this for my life. It works for me. It works for my students. It works. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So to take it seriously, because, and that's why I'm looking forward to Saturday, because I want to see how you're going to go with it. Now you're practicing it, you're having fun. It's modeling, it's experiencing. So you can. Denise, you have your hand up for a while. Yes.
I was just wondering if you can please give more examples on the P.
Oh yeah, I haven't done the P yet.
Oh, okay.
Because
no.
so that's a fantastic question. Very, very good question. because I had to be explaining the fact that it's STP, even though 97% of the people do PST when they should not. So I haven't explained the P yet.
Okay, good to know.
Which is the next slide. It's coming now. Because just so you know, is there something that's really, really, really difficult in marketing? Yeah, there's one thing that's very difficult. The rocket science of marketing is positioning. So the P is the most complicated concept within marketing. So that's why I'm like sort of, getting you there. But the idea is when you develop a product, it should be developed by what the market wants. So you don't develop a product and try to sell it to the market. If you see what the market wants, and then with the market, you develop the product. So that's what I said. The first thing is your product. Then you think about the price, place, promotion. But when you do STP, you can do all of this. But when you do PST, is you have to figure out what to do. So what is positioning? Positioning is the meaning of your brand. The meaning of your brand is essentially, to simplify it, is the value, the benefits associated with what your brand does. So here I have some example. Hertz.
We call it branding too.
Well, branding is, they're connected. So positioning is the meaning of your brand. So when you do branding, you have to look at the positioning, but the positioning is a higher level, is a broader level than your brand. So positioning is done before you do your brand, because the positioning is first you need to think about the meaning. So for example, Hertz is, you have to think about, it's connected to the mission of the company. What is the company mission? What is their vision? What is the meaning of who we are? Why do we exist? What do we want to be known for? So all of that, that's your positioning. So oftentimes I ask the class, what is positioning? And oftentimes they say the positioning is where does the product go in the shelf? I say, no, that's not positioning. But that's the most common answer I have. So then I say, but it's connected to that. Is where does the brand go in people's mind? Where do they put it? What's the value? So you see, Hertz is fast, convenient, versus Volvo is safe, versus Domino Pizza is prompt delivery. Every brand wants to be associated with like a slogan, if you want, a short little slogan. This short little slogan is your positioning, what you want to be known for. It helps you to be competitive. So your positioning helps you to be remembered by the consumers. So it's a strategic advantage. So positioning is the same level as strategy, but it's not a strategy, but it's that high level as a strategy. So it's not a tactic. Branding is also a strategy, but it's a lower level than positioning. So how do you position? You position by product attribute. So maybe you have a product that is very reliable. So you're going to say the most reliable. You're going to call it like that. You're going to say Ford, built like a rock, the most reliable. So you want to borrow that. You want people, when they think reliable car, they think Ford. So you want to be connected. So in the internet, they call that SEO. The SEO, the words associated with your website. What do you want people to find you when they Google you? What are the keywords you want to be associated with? See, most students understand that. Yeah, I understand SEO, optimization of the words. Positioning is the same. It's sort of this SEO that your brand has. So you can use the product attributes, you can use the benefit. The benefit is fast, effective, relief, and it's a Bayer aspirin. It's fast and effective. The usage occasion. So maybe you say, this is for Thanksgiving, this is for the Super Bowl, this is for Christmas, this is for a birthday, this is for graduation. So you want people to think about that, User class. So user class, there's this is used by this celebrity, or this is used by professional tennis player, or this is used by models, or this is used by doctors. Doctors recommend, dentists recommend. So your positioning is you are the brand recommended by dentists. That's the image. Against competitor. So, against competitors, like you have Pepsi that say it's fun. And therefore, if Pepsi is known to be fun, Coca-Cola cannot say fun because Pepsi is already using that. So then you're going to say, it's cool, it's great. So you're going to try to find a word that is sort of seen as superior. In 2007, California State University Northridge, the president of the university, asked me to take CSUN as the client. The clients we have is Nishwaukee. In 2007, the client I have in one of my classes was CSUN. So when I reviewed CSUN, I told them, you have a big problem, is your positioning is terrible. And they say, what do you mean? So they gave me the positioning of CSUN, and they had 17 attributes. When you have 17 attributes, you're lost because you have too many. It's like if you meet a girl for the first time or a guy for the first time, and then this person comes in front of you and said, it's a good thing that you're talking to me today, because I know you know me from, I don't know, a friend or Tinder, and I'm very intelligent, very rich, very smart, very beautiful, very athletic, very engaged, very committed. If this person keeps saying very, very, very many more times, they are lying. You cannot be so many things. So what you do is you do marketing. I'm only going to tell him or her one thing. But what do you tell them? What they want to hear or what you really are? If you want a long-term result, you tell them what you are. But if you want a quick, effective result, you tell them what they want to hear. So marketing tells you, be careful. It depends the purpose. If it's a quick relationship, tell her what she wants to hear. STP. Okay. If it's a long-term relationship, it's PST. And you can always do PSTP, and that's even better, but that's a different story. And so the point here is the university, we said we can't have 2,000, so many. So we created one. We created the slogan for CSUN, which was used for 7 years. It was called CSUN Shine. You probably can still see it. Sometimes they still have brochure and websites where they say CSUN Shine. And with the students, that had over 400 students work on this. CSUN Shine, it's a long story. And we created the sculpture of the Matador. We did a lot of things. That was the result of that project I did with the students. Anyway, the university liked it very much. And then they hired another consulting firm to do a positioning in 2014. And then the consulting firm came and said, oh man, there's this professor that did it for free, CSUN Shine. What can we do? And they tweaked it. And it's still the same now. It's called CSUN Rise. CSUN Shine, CSUN Rise. They made a small tweak. And they asked $500,000 for this tweak. We did it for free, CSUN Shine. They did it for $500,000, CSUN Rise. Sunshine Rise. So it's like, I was like thinking, wow, I'm definitely too inexpensive. But my point is, this positioning, it's usually a small tune-up, something really small. It's rarely a big difference. So positioning, DayQuil, it's cold and flu. You have the multi-symptoms relief, day usage, and then you have the night relief, night usage. 2 different positioning, one for the day, one for the night. Here's the positioning by comparison. Pure is you could have the filter on your faucet, or you could be buying all of these, because with that filter, you can generate this much water that you can drink. So they show you the positioning by visually telling you that you're going to be saving. Positioning of a breakfast cereal, we mentioned this before, is you need to have a cartoon character. So then the cartoon character, which one works? So you say, oh, let's put a crocodile. You do PST. But your target don't like crocodile. They like hippopotamus. So you screw it up. So you say, okay, let's do STP. So then you go see them, what do you want? I want a toucan. Okay, STP will give them a toucan. If they wanted a rhinoceros or an elephant, you put what they want. Give them what they want. But you don't do what fruit spins did, which they have nothing. Okay, so just for today, let me stop on this. So therefore, to explain positioning, this table is like the simple table 101 of positioning to finish the lecture for today. Is therefore, what is positioning? Here you have two characteristics of positioning. Like I said, you don't want 17 like Sisson used to have. So what's the magic number? I would say the maximum is 3 attributes, 3 adjectives. That's the maximum. What's the percentage of companies that should have 3? I would say 10%. So the next is 2. How many could have 2? Maybe 30%, 35%, 25%. And how many should have 1? The rest. So the majority should have 1. The problem is sometimes you're in an environment that is very competitive. So having only 1 is difficult if you have lots of competitors, because you can't differentiate yourself with just having 1 thing. But if you have 2, it's hard to get people to remember those 2 or to film this 2 or to memorize these 2. But here's an example, which is good for teaching, but it's not good to use in real life. So it's good for teaching. However, it's used by a lot of companies because, like I said, they don't understand positioning very well. But a lot of companies use price and quality as the 2 attributes of positioning. Why is it good for teaching? It's because everybody understands them. Price, high price, low price, and quality, low quality, high quality. You all get it. Oh, so for teaching is good. But the problem is not good for the real life because quality does not mean anything. You have to define quality for it to be meaningful. What is a quality hotel? Is it a hotel with a lot of services? Is it a hotel with a comfortable bed? Is it a hotel with a big pool? Is it an hotel where the room is clean? All of these are components of quality. What's a quality concert? Is a concert where you could dance? Is a concert where you could hear the music? It's a concert where the performance was very entertaining. Is a concert where there was good security? All of these are quality components. So using quality and just quality is not very meaningful because it's too broad, too vague. You follow that? So to do well, you could use price and a specific component of quality that is very true to you, to your company. And that's what you have to find. But for the sake of teaching, this is very good. So this is the company called the Marriott. And let's say if they have to use price and quality, they have created 4 different brands which have 4 different positioning based on being either low price, low quality, and high price, high quality. So you get what you pay for. And that's their positioning using this grid. Does this help you understand what is positioning? So maybe I'll give you one more slide because I think that will help you. So therefore, positioning is described on what's called a positioning map. A positioning map is the orthogonal matrix where you conceptually put brands based on where do they fit. And therefore, Zara is in high price, high quality versus Cotton On is more on the low price, low quality, and Forever 21 is a little bit better. So a positioning map is very necessary. So is it possible that you do a positioning map for Nishwaki? Very possible. I would say 4 teams out of 5 will do a positioning map. When it comes to the entrepreneurship class, 5 team out of 5 will do a positioning map, because again, it's very important. And the way you want to do it is essentially after you've done the explanation of who are the customers. Once we know who they are, it's easier to say what you need to tell them for them to have the light on, because they heard what they needed to hear. Do you have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
I don't
No, good.
understand how a musical artist fits into this map, because we would have to judge the quality of his music, and then
Yeah,
all
but
music pretty much costs the same.
yeah, but so because these are teaching examples. If I show you another one like this one is a crazy one.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's super high dense multi-factors, where you would sell mineral water and you have health, you have when you can eat it, you're staying young, losing weight. So you have multiple characteristics. Here's a one for a car, and it has spirited on one side and one that you're proud of, and the other side is good for mileage. So for an artist, let's go back
Oh,
to
I
this.
see.
So it's not always price and quality. So that's why I said for teaching, it's good. Like the first time you face this and you learn about this, is you can always look at everything price and quality. So you could say, you know what, I'm going to look at hotels. Well, I guess that's an hotel. I don't know. Vacation resort, or you can airline, a supermarket, toothpaste. You can throw everything in there, and you can always do price and quality. But they are not good for real life. And so for an artist, what you would want to use is maybe the genre, the music genre. You could use maybe if it's sort of younger people, older people, more educated people, less educated people, more East Coast, more West Coast, more mass or more private. So that's why you have to go talk to some people.
Okay.
And that's why you have to sort of okay, so why did I say that this is the hardest thing in marketing by far, positioning? Because nobody will tell you what's niche wacky positioning. And it can only come out from a discussion with some potential customers, where they look at this video, where they listen to the music. And then when they listen to the music, they go, oh, you know what? That reminds me of this artist. Or you know what? That makes me feel like I'm on vacation. And then you go, wow, what do you mean you're on vacation? What does it make you feel like on vacation? So that's why this one is the one that requires students. And that's why this one is done well in this particular class, the MIA, compared to all my other classes, is because there's enough people that are creative, that they understand that this is the most creative part of marketing, because you have to listen to the people and you have to get inspired to what they say. And it's a very emotional things that you have. And so based on what they told you, suddenly you have this emotion, you say, when they told us that, we were thinking of this. And then we finally found what needed to happen is niche wacky needs to be this way and needs to have that way. You know, like for example, Alex Ritchie, there was a little bit of attraction. There was a girl attraction with Alex Ritchie. And so the students found this. So that's the positioning. It was very girly, very young girl. And so they found that that's what they got from the people that reviewed his music and looked at him and all this. And then they came back and they told me, you know, I think it could do very well with girls. Girls think it's really cool. And we should put most of the resources on girls. And then when we had the next interview, like you have an interview on the March 5th, I knew this team, they couldn't wait to ask him, you know, if he preferred to be a fan, man or woman. And then when they said woman, he was laughing. He says, you know, it's true. There's a lot of women that seems to like what I do. And I'm sort of flattered. And then they kept asking questions about this. And eventually they could see that there was something about him that should be like a very woman oriented. So you could have men on women as a axis. And so all I can tell you is there's a very big creative part in doing position. And but you can't do it based on nothing. You need to do it after you have the S and T done well. So the reality, again, like I tell you, do the opportunities, but let's be honest, you're going to do IDs and opportunities and never tell me that you did it that way. Because when you present it, it's going to be opportunities and IDs. Same thing here. You will do PST. Let's be frank with each other. You will do PST. But don't tell me that. So what you do is you do PST, and then you keep doing research, and then you find so it's called iterative. And if you go on Wikipedia, they will tell you it's a subject that is iterative, which means that you have to start with something. Is it the chicken or the egg? It doesn't matter. Imagine it starts with the egg, and then the chicken, and then the egg, and then the chicken. So it's the same thing. It's presentation, it should be STP. But the way how you created it at the end, that's your secret. That's confidential. We don't need to know that you did it all the wrong way, which is IDs and positioning, because it's not that wrong. It's the way we all think creatively. So as long as there's one person in each group that sort of understand me, then I hope that they can lead the rest. And then little by little, you're gonna sort of influence each other, and then you'll see it becomes really good. But research opportunities are not what you are going to do. That's my conclusion. So that way, if you can remember those two things, that already will make it better for you on Saturday.